Did it ever happen to you that you ate a good meal and then it felt like someone switched your whole life off? I mean it plain, sweetheart. Not just, I'm full, and not just, I need a nap. I mean, you push your plate away and suddenly your head goes cloudy, your eyelids get heavy, your legs feel like they belong to somebody else, and the chair seems to pull you down like a magnet. You sit there thinking, well, I guess I'm just old now. But deep down, something in you whispers, no, this is not right. I know that feeling because I lived with it, and I am telling you this as a 92-year-old woman who still climbs the stairs in my own house, slow but steady, holding the rail like any sensible old bird, and I sleep at night with a deep, warm sleep I used to pray for. I'm not saying I'm 25. Lord knows my knees crack like popcorn in a skillet, but I am here. I am clear in my head. I can carry a laundry basket one step at a time, and I do not spend every evening wondering why my heart is thumping, why my pressure is acting foolish, or why my legs are tingling like little ants are marching in my socks. After 70, I learned a quiet secret about keeping sugar steady. Not magic, not a miracle, not some shiny promise from a bottle with a smiling lady on the label. Just one simple support, along with food that respects an older body. People like to call it normal sugar without pills, and I understand why that sounds good. But I want to be honest at my kitchen table. I never tell anybody to stop medicine. If a doctor gave you medicine, you do not toss it in the trash because an old grandma on the internet said something. That is not wisdom. That is trouble wearing a Sunday hat. What I mean is this. There are things we can do, gentle things, ordinary things, that help the body carry sugar more smoothly, so the vessels, kidneys, and heart are not getting slapped around all day by those high and low waves. Because that is what it felt like to me, a slap. I would eat a plate of pasta or biscuits with gravy, maybe a sweet tea, maybe just a little dessert. And an hour later, my whole body would dim. My head got foggy, like someone breathed on a window. I felt thirsty, but water did not satisfy me right away. Sometimes I got cramps in my calves at night, so sharp I would sit up and say, "Oh, mercy." Other times my toes tingled, especially in bed, and I would rub them through the blanket. I blamed my shoes. I blamed the weather. I blamed age. Age gets blamed for everything, poor thing. Then the stairs started talking to me. You know what I mean. A staircase will tell the truth when people won't. I had gone up those same steps for decades. I raised children in that house. I carried sheets, groceries, crying babies, Christmas boxes, and once, a stubborn cat who did not appreciate being rescued from the basement. But somewhere in my late 70s, those stairs felt taller. Halfway up, my chest felt tired. Not pain exactly, but a heavy tiredness. I would pause and pretend I was looking at a picture on the wall. There was no picture interesting enough to stare at every day, but pride is a funny thing. In the evenings, my blood pressure would jump around like a squirrel in the attic. Morning might be decent, then after dinner it would rise. My head would feel stuffed with cotton. My mouth got dry. I would sip water, go to the bathroom, come back, sit down, and wonder why I was so worn out from doing nothing. Now, if you have ever sat in a doctor's office with your purse on your lap, waiting 25 minutes to get 7 minutes with a rushed doctor, you know how it goes. They check the numbers, they look at the screen, and they say, "Try to eat better." Well, thank you, doctor. I have been trying to eat better since Eisenhower was president. But what does that mean when you are alone at breakfast? What does that mean when the grocery store has 200 kinds of cereal and every box says heart healthy while tasting like candy? What does that mean when your neighbor brings pie because that is how Americans show love? I do not blame doctors. Most of them are tired too. But there are simple things they often do not have time to explain. And that is what I mean when I say doctors are silent about it. Not because they are evil, because the system is rushing everybody like cattle through a gate. There is no time to sit at the table and say, "Maria, let's talk about what happens inside your vessels after that big white flour breakfast." So I had to learn it in my own slow way. The picture that helped me most was this. Our blood vessels are like old pipes in an old house. Maybe they were bright and smooth when we were young, but by the time you have lived through babies, bills, funerals, Thanksgiving dinners, hard winters, and 1 or 2 heartbreaks, those pipes are not brand new anymore. They still work, but they need kindness. Now imagine pouring sticky syrup and greasy sludge through old pipes again and again. Too much sugar at once, too much heavy, fatty food with it, and the blood gets burdened. I picture it like sticky junk clinging inside the passage, not in one dramatic moment, but little by little. The flow gets less clean, less easy. And what needs that clean flow? Everything. The heart needs it, the brain needs it, the kidneys need it, the tiny nerves in the feet need it, the eyes need it. When the flow is strained, the whole house complains. That is why the signs can be so quiet. Nobody rings a bell. There is no parade saying, "Your glucose is swinging and your vessels are not happy." It shows up as heaviness after meals, a foggy head, thirst that seems out of proportion, night cramps, tingling in the feet, that strange tiredness on stairs, evening blood pressure, playing games, a little swelling, maybe, a little irritability, a little, "I just don't feel like myself." And then we shrug and say, "I'm getting old." But what if it is not only age? What if the body is not betraying us, but begging us to change the way the sugar enters the bloodstream? That question bothered me. It bothered me in the good way, like a pebble in the shoe that makes you stop walking toward a cliff. I did not overhaul my whole life in one day. At 92, I can tell you, dramatic changes rarely last. People love a dramatic Monday. This Monday, I'm cutting out everything, walking 5 miles, drinking green juice, and becoming a new woman. By Thursday, that same woman is eating crackers over the sink, mad at herself. I have been that woman. Maybe you have too. Or maybe you are more disciplined than me, and if so, God bless you. But don't sit too close because you'll make me nervous. The thing that became my anchor was soluble fiber, especially psyllium husk. Psyllium is not glamorous. It is not new. It is the kind of plain thing people ignore because it does not sparkle. But soluble fiber forms a soft gel in water. That gel can slow down how fast sugar from a meal rushes into the blood. It can make the meal land more gently. To me, it is like putting a screen in front of a fast stream, so the water does not crash all at once. Again, not a cure, not a replacement for medicine, but a support, a kind, humble support. The way I learned to take it was simple. 1 teaspoon of psyllium in about 250 milliliters of water, which is a little over 1 cup. I stir it and drink it right away, because if you let it sit there, it turns thick and stubborn. Then I drink more plain water after it. That part matters. Psyllium needs water. You do not take dry fiber and then forget to drink. That is asking for a bellyache, or worse. Most mornings, I take it on an empty stomach before breakfast. Some days, if I know breakfast is light, but lunch has more carbohydrates, I take it before that most carbohydrate-heavy meal instead. Not hours before, not after dessert like an apology, but before the meal that needs softening. And another important thing, I keep it away from my medications. Fiber can interfere with how medicines are absorbed, so I separate it by time. I make room between them. That is one of those little details people skip, and details are where older bodies either thank us or fuss at us. If a person takes thyroid medicine, heart medicine, diabetes medicine, blood thinners, or anything important, they really should ask their clinician or pharmacist how much space to leave. I leave a good gap. I do not play games with medicine. When I first tried psyllium, I did not feel fireworks. There was no angel choir in my kitchen. But after a little while, I noticed breakfast did not knock me down so hard. My head stayed clearer. I was not as desperate for water. The afternoon slump softened. And the more I paired it with better food, the more my body seemed to calm down. Now let me tell you what better food meant for me. Because if I hear one more person say, just eat healthy, without explaining what they put on the plate, I may throw a potholder. For breakfast, I stopped making bread the main character. I still like bread. I am not made of stone. But I learned that if I started the day with toast and jam, or a sweet roll, or a big bowl of cereal, my blood sugar would climb like a ladder and then leave me sitting at the bottom. So I made protein my first friend. Eggs, if I felt like cooking. Cottage cheese, if I wanted something easy. Sometimes fish, especially leftover salmon, because old ladies who eat salmon for breakfast should be respected, not questioned. I might add cucumber, tomato, spinach, or some sautéed greens. If I had a piece of toast, it was small and not alone. Lonely carbohydrates cause mischief in my body. Lunch became simple too, a bowl with vegetables, something protein, and maybe a small portion of buckwheat. Buckwheat was a blessing for me. It is hearty, it tastes earthy, and it does not make me feel as foolish as a big pile of white rice did. But I keep the portion small. That is the secret with grains at my age. Not forbidden, just not a mountain. A little buckwheat with fish or eggs or cottage cheese on the side, and vegetables that take up space on the plate. I like cabbage, green beans, zucchini, broccoli, peppers, and a good salad if the lettuce is not sad. Dinner, I keep lighter than I used to. That was hard, because in America, we often make dinner the big event. The family gathers, the plates are full, and everyone says, eat, eat. Food is memory, food is comfort. Food is how my mother said, I love you, when the words were too fancy for her. So I had to ask myself a moral little question. Am I honoring my family by eating the old way until I feel sick? Or am I honoring them by staying well enough to tell the stories? I still do not know if there is one right answer for every person. Maybe your grandmother's lasagna is sacred. Maybe your husband's pancakes are the last recipe he remembers how to make. Maybe you live alone, and a bowl of cereal at night feels like company. I understand, I truly do. Food is never only food. But I had to choose my future mornings over my old evening habits. And that was not punishment. That was care. I also use cinnamon, but let us not make cinnamon into a superhero. A little cinnamon in cottage cheese or on a warm apple slice, or in oatmeal if I have just a small bit, gives flavor and sweetness without needing so much sugar. But cinnamon is not a miracle. It will not cancel pie. It will not rescue a plate of pancakes drowning in syrup. It is a spice, not a priest giving absolution. The real change was rhythm. Protein first, vegetables often, carbohydrates smaller and not naked, psyllium with water as support. More water through the day. A slow walk after meals when I could manage it, even if it was just around the living room, down the hall, or to the mailbox and back. I know some people say, walk 10,000 steps. Honey, at my age, some days 10,000 steps sounds like crossing the Oregon Trail. But 5 minutes after a meal can help. 10 minutes can help. The body loves being told, gently, use this sugar now. Don't let it sit around causing trouble. I remember one evening clearly. I had eaten a sensible dinner, fish, green beans, a small spoon of buckwheat, and tea. No dessert, but I did have cinnamon and warm cottage cheese, which sounds strange until you try it. I sat in my chair waiting for the usual fog to roll in. It did not. My head stayed bright enough that I read 3 pages of a book without reading the same paragraph 6 times. My pressure did not jump like it used to. My feet were quiet. Quiet feet are one of the great luxuries of old age, and nobody tells you that when you are young. That night I slept. Not perfect, not like a teenager, but deep. I woke up once, looked at the clock, and instead of feeling dry-mouthed and restless, I rolled over and went back under. In the morning, I stood at the bottom of the stairs and thought, all right, Maria, let's see. Up I went, one hand on the rail, one step, then another. I reached the top without that heavy, frightened feeling. I stood there and cried a little, not because stairs are so important, because independence is. In this country, we talk a lot about independence. We teach children to drive, to move out, to stand on their own 2 feet. Then, when we get old, independence becomes smaller and more precious. It becomes walking to the mailbox, buttoning your blouse, remembering why you entered the room, getting up the stairs to your own bed, sleeping without fear, not being a burden before you have to be. There is no shame in needing help. I have needed help many times, but there is a deep pride in doing what you still can with the body you still have. Sometimes I wonder if you will agree with me on this. Getting older is not about chasing youth. It is about removing the little thieves that steal the day. For me, sugar swings were thieves. They stole my afternoons. They stole my clear thoughts. They stole my confidence on the stairs. They stole peace from my evenings. And because the stealing was quiet, I almost let them get away with it. I wish someone had sat me down earlier and said, Maria, pay attention after meals. Not just fasting sugar in the morning, though that matters. Not just the number at the doctor's office. Pay attention to the body's language after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. Does your head fog up? Do you crave water? Do your legs feel heavy? Do your feet tingle more? Does your pressure rise in the evening? Do you feel like a curtain drops over you after eating? That information is not gossip. It is evidence. Of course, if someone has diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, or takes medications, they must work with their healthcare team. I want that clear as clean glass. I am not offering a cure. I am not telling anyone to replace treatment. If blood sugar is high, if pressure is high, if there is chest pain, sudden weakness, severe shortness of breath, confusion, or swelling, that is not a time for home experiments. That is a time to get medical help. Wisdom is knowing when to use the kitchen and when to use the clinic. But there is a lot of life lived between appointments. 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. That is where we either pour sticky trouble into the old pipes, or we give those pipes a little mercy. I keep a small jar of psyllium in my cupboard now. Nothing fancy. I keep a spoon beside it. In the morning, before the house gets loud with thoughts, I take my glass of water, stir in that teaspoon, drink it, then follow with more water. I take my medications at their proper time, separate from it. Then breakfast is something steady. Eggs with spinach, cottage cheese with cinnamon and a few berries, fish if I have it, vegetables left from supper. Sometimes I look at it and laugh, because my younger self would say, Maria, what happened to pancakes? And I tell her, we still love pancakes, dear, but we love our feet more. Once in a while, I eat something sweet. I am 92, not a statue. At birthdays, I may take a few bites of cake. At Thanksgiving, I taste pie. But I do not pretend my body forgot the rules just because it is a holiday. I try to eat protein and vegetables first. I keep the sweet portions small. I walk a little afterward. I drink water. I do not turn one treat into a week-long parade. That was another lesson. The problem was not one cookie. The problem was one cookie opening the door for the whole marching band. My grandchildren sometimes tease me, gently. Grandma Maria and her fiber water. I let them tease. Then one of them, the busy one with the office job and the drive-through coffee, told me she feels like she crashes after lunch every day. She said, "I thought it was just work stress." Maybe it is partly stress. In America, everybody is stressed, and half the food is designed to make us want more of it. That is a difficult combination. But I told her what I am telling you now. Notice what happens after the meal. The body keeps receipts. She asked me, "Grandma, why don't doctors tell people this?" I said, "Some do, some try, but they are given a tiny little window, and we come in with a whole lifetime." That is the truth, isn't it? A whole lifetime does not fit into a 10-minute appointment. The doctor sees the lab number, but only you know that after a sandwich and chips, your brain feels wrapped in wool. Only you know your calves cramp after a sweet dinner. Only you know you feel thirsty in a way that scares you a little. Only you know the stairs have become a negotiation. That kind of knowing matters. If you have felt that life switched off feeling after eating, you are not weak. You are not lazy. You are not just old. Your body may be asking for steadier fuel and less of a sugar flood. It may be asking for the old pipes to be treated with respect. I think about the women I knew growing up. They cooked with what they had. They stretched meals. They made casseroles, pies, biscuits, potatoes, gravy. They fed families through hard times. I honor them. But our lives changed. We move less, food got sweeter, portions got bigger, snacks became constant. We sit in cars, sit at desks, sit in front of screens, and then we wonder why the body cannot handle the same old plate. Maybe the old recipes are part of our story, but they do not have to run the whole house. There is a tender unfairness in aging. Just when you have earned comfort, the body demands discipline. Just when you want ease, the body says, "Please be careful." I used to resent that. Now I see it differently. Discipline can be a form of tenderness. Preparing a simple breakfast is tenderness. Drinking water is tenderness. Taking fiber away from medications carefully is tenderness. Choosing a small portion of buckwheat instead of a heap of white bread is tenderness. Walking slowly after dinner is tenderness. Going to bed with calm feet and a quiet heart is tenderness. And the reward is not perfection. It is a steadier day. At 92, I do not need a perfect body. I need a faithful one. I need my kidneys not to be overworked by constant sugar storms. I need my heart not to be pushed every evening by a heavy, sticky meal. I need my vessels to carry a cleaner flow. I need my brain to stay bright enough to remember my stories and my grandchildren's names and where I put the good scissors, though that last one is still a mystery. If this sounds too simple, I understand. We are trained to believe every problem needs something complicated. But old age has taught me that simple things done daily are stronger than dramatic things done once. A teaspoon, a glass of water, another glass after, a little space from medicines, eggs, cottage cheese, fish, vegetables, a small portion of buckwheat, cinnamon for flavor, fewer lonely carbohydrates, a short walk, watching the body's response. That is not glamorous, but neither is waking up with calf cramps at 2 a.m. I choose the plain thing that works with my life. Some people will say, "I could never give up my toast." I would say, maybe you do not have to give it up. Maybe you stop letting toast run the meeting. Put an egg with it. Add vegetables. Make it 1 slice instead of 3. Take the sugar out of the coffee slowly. Try not to drink sweetness all day long. Let breakfast be breakfast, not dessert in disguise. Some people will say, "I already take medicine, so what is the point?" The point is that medicine and meals live in the same body. Medicine can be necessary and helpful, and the plate still matters. In my mind, that is not either or. That is teamwork. I have too much respect for my own life to make it a fight between the doctor and the kitchen. And some people will say, my numbers are fine. Maybe they are. Wonderful. Still, notice how you feel. Numbers are lamps, but they do not light every corner. The body's small complaints are lamps too. I often sit at my kitchen table in the afternoon, sunlight on the floor, and think about how much advice I ignored when I was younger because it sounded boring. Drink water, eat protein, eat vegetables, go for a walk, sleep. Don't overdo sugar. I wanted secrets. Now I know the secret was not hidden. It was just humble. The part I wish more people talked about is the emotional side. When food makes you tired, you begin to trust yourself less. You stop making plans after lunch. You avoid stares. You say no to little outings. You tell your daughter, "I'm fine," because you do not want her to worry. But you are not fine. You are shrinking your life to fit your symptoms. That is a lonely thing. When my after-meal fog lifted, even partly, my world got bigger again. I called a friend. I folded clothes without sitting down 3 times. I went upstairs without making a ceremony of it. I slept better, so I woke with more patience. A steadier sugar day can become a steadier spirit. That is something no lab report can fully show. I do not know where you are in your own story. Maybe you are 55 and caring for your parents. Maybe you are 68 and trying to avoid the road your father went down. Maybe you are 74 and newly retired, wondering why rest made you more tired instead of less. Maybe you are 82 and proud, and you do not want anyone fussing over you. I understand all of those people, because I have been most of them. If you keep me company here from time to time, you will hear me say this again in different ways. Do not wait until the body screams. Listen when it whispers. The whisper after meals may be one of the earliest warnings you get. For me, the remedy began with respect for the flow inside me. My vessels are old pipes, yes, but they are loyal pipes. They have carried me through 92 years. They carried me through childbirth, grief, housework, Sunday dinners, long winters, bad news, good news, and ordinary mornings. They deserve not to be clogged with sticky sugar floods and heavy grease every day. They deserve clean water. They deserve fiber. They deserve food that enters like a guest, not like a burglar. This morning, I climbed the stairs again. I did not rush. Rushing at 92 is how you meet the floor personally. I held the rail, breathed calmly, and went up. At the top, I made my bed, opened the curtains, and stood there a moment while the light came in. That may not sound like a miracle to a young person. To me, it is freedom. Tonight, if all goes well, I will sleep deep. Not because I found a cure for old age. Nobody cures old age, and I am not trying to. I am trying to live inside it with grace. I am trying to keep my mind clear, my feet quiet, my heart calm, my kidneys spared, and my old pipes flowing as cleanly as I can. So when I hear someone say, "I eat, and then I just shut down," my heart leans toward them. I want to put a warm hand over theirs and say, "Don't ignore that, dear. Don't panic either. Just start listening. Start gently. Ask good questions. Notice the meal. Notice the fog. Notice the thirst. Notice the stares. Notice the evening pressure. And give your body a kinder road for the sugar to travel." Maybe the answer is not one grand decision. Maybe it is a teaspoon in water, a better breakfast, a smaller portion, a little walk, and enough patience to see what changes. That is how it happened for me, quietly, calmly, in my own kitchen. And at 92, I can tell you, the quiet remedies are often the ones that stay.